Hi everyone, my name is Triza and I'm going to teach you how to knit. Karibu. So when I'm knitting, I like to work with the chunky knit wool. I find it nice and fluffy and a good size, which is important for grip, especially when you're working with the younger ones. So chunky knit, especially the robin ones, I like to use chunky knit. So I will also be working with wooden needles or wooden knitting needles, because again they also have a good grip. They don't slide too much, so the stitches hold and then someone can be able to work with them. So wooden needles work very well, especially when you're starting to learn how to knit. So I'll be casting on, and casting on means putting the stitches onto the needle so that you can start working. I'll use my beautiful green wool here, and I'll only need one stitch for casting on, one needle for casting on, and then I will begin. So the very first thing that you do is make a loop or make a knot, a loose knot, something like that, very loose knot, and then you put your needle through it and you pull slightly. You don't want to make very tight stitches, so you make it very relaxed, and then it can move up and down your needle, and then it doesn't want to be too tight. So and then now for the consequent stitches, I'm going to try something that I find that is very easy for most learners. So there's this wool that we are using, the one that's going all the way to that end there. So you pick it and you will make a loop, you twist it. I hope that's clear. You twist it to make a loop. Then you put the needle through there and you pull. And then we make another one. Just twisting the wool. You're picking the wool from under here, twisting it to make a bit of a loop. Put the needle through and then you pull. So I would like us to make a very nice small coaster for putting on your cup or glass of juice when you're on the table. And so for this one we'll need like 15 stitches. So these are 1, 2, 3. So we'll make more stitches. We'll make 15 stitches, and I'll do it quickly. But just to remind you what we were doing. So we were making a loop like that. Pick the wool, twist it a bit, put the needle through, and then you pull. So I'll make 15 very quickly, and then we start knitting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have 15. There you go. So this is a good amount of stitches to make a small square coaster for us to work with. Now I'm moving on to the next step. So I had made 2-3 rows here on this needle, and then I'm going to show you how we do that, how we work with the needles to start knitting. So on the very first stitch here, I don't know if you can see that clearly, I'm going to put my needle through from under there. So I'm going to hold my needle, and if I'm right-handed, the lead knitting needle is on my right, and then I'm going to put my needle in through here. So there's a little poem that I like to use with children, which is good for memory, helps us to remember how to work out the stitches. So I'll do in through the front door, round about the back, out through the front door, and off jumps Jack. So I'm going in from underneath here, if you can see. I'm going in from underneath here and going through, and then I will put my wool around the knitting needle that went in through the hole. I'll put my wool around the knitting needle that went through, and then the knitting needle that went through wants to come out with a new stitch, or to make a new stitch. It wants to come out and make a new stitch, and then the old stitch that was there falls off. So again, reverting to my little poem: in through the front door, round about the back, out through the front door, and off jumps Jack. In through the front door, round about the back, out through the front door, and off jumps Jack. So you keep doing that all the way through to the end of the row. And then when you're finished till the end of the row, then you start all over again, and then the piece will grow. So now here the piece has grown. It's almost ready to be a nice coaster, and it's very beautiful. So when you knit both sides, it makes a stitch called the garter stitch, which is very even, and I really like this stitch. It's very even and very flat. When you put it down on the table, it's going to be really nice and flat for a cup or glass of juice. So now my coaster is ready. I want to show you how to cast it off so that it's now ready for use. So casting off, you are going to be taking 2. You remember we were doing that little poem of in through the front door. And again, if you're right-handed, your lead needle is on your right hand, and the other hand, the left hand, or the one that is not your lead hand, is holding the other needle. So I'll take 2 instead of 1 like we were knitting before. I'll take 2. In through 2 stitches, in through 2, and then I still do round about the back, then out through the front door, and off we jump 2 jacks. The new stitch, I'll put it back on and take 2 again one more time, and go all the way to the end of the row. And that's how we are going to cast off. I go all the way to the end, and then I'm going to cast off. So that's how we work with knitting. Knitting is very relaxing. It's very good for young ones, and it has very many advantages when you're working with knitting, or even for grown-ups or adults or young people who want to engage in knitting. It helps a lot with fine motor movement, especially for children. It helps a lot with eye-hand coordination. It also helps a lot with focus and attention. Like a child can be knitting for 10-15 straight minutes without moving away from that task, which develops attention span. It's also very good for relaxation. Like you're feeling a bit tired or tensed or needing something relaxing to do, knitting is very good. And it's also very satisfying when you start a project and finish, like we just finished with our coaster. So now you put this wool through here, and your coaster is done and it's finished. So I'll nip this off with scissors, and my coaster is ready for use. Beautiful coaster. Thank you.